The Eagles' offensive coordinator search loses two top candidates today. Former Dolphins head man Mike McDaniel will be the Chargers' offensive coordinator unless he gets a head coaching job. PHLY's E.J. Smith today says the Eagles did have conversations with McDaniel, but no formal in-person interview. And Brian Daboll, he met with the Birds yesterday. The Athletics' Diana Rossini says that Daboll will interview for Buffalo's head coaching opening, but failing that, he will go to the Titans and serve as their OC. So the Eagles' rumored top two candidates choosing OC jobs in other cities. So where's that leave the Birds? That's the question of the hour. Huddle up for Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL. Along with Barrett Brooks, I'm Michael Barkann. Barrett, you thought Brian Daboll would be a very good fit for the Eagles. Where are you on the panic meter now regarding the Eagles' offensive coordinator search?
I'm not panicking. We got plenty of time. The season just ended for us, a week ago? So for me to be all, worried about it just doesn't make sense. What I will say is, you got to understand, the Eagles usually get somebody that's below the radar. I didn't think we were going to get anybody. Every time we try to get somebody that's up here and everybody say, oh, we're going to get him, we never get him. We got what? We got guys like Vic Fangio. We had to go pilfer from Miami. We got Doug Peterson. These are all people from Andy Reid. So we always we get the non-sexy. Who knew who he was? I didn't know he was even interviewing for a head coaching job. But look, we got Nick Sirianni, two Super Bowls later and a Super Bowl win later. So we usually make it up. I just want number one. So number one, as long as he's happy, I'm happy.
Okay. 3-point stance presented by Toyota. Stance one, the Eagles are missing out on their top candidates. Why? What's the biggest reason? The head coach, the quarterback, the expectations, something else? What do you think, Barrett?
I think it's a combination of everything, but I think more so it's expectations, the gold standard. There's an expectation that you have to be one of the top guys to come here. I mean, look, when you come here, there's a possibility you could be a head coach the next year. We've had 3 guys come in and were offensive coordinators, become head coaches in the past 5 years. They must be doing something right. And that expectation of the gold standard puts you in a position where you got to go out there and exceed. You got to go out there and be the guy. And, at the end of the day, you look at it, it has nothing to do really with me, with, being an Eagle and, any limitations you think Jalen Hurts have. I think it's more so the expectation what comes with being here. So, forget all that. Look at Daboll. If we'd have brought Daboll in, he'd be working under one of his receiver coaches.
Right.
That might be something, he'd want to do anyway, And, the mere fact that this team has had so much success, he can go down to Tennessee. If he doesn't get the head coach, he can go to Tennessee and, get about 3 years. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? What if he comes up here and doesn't produce? They might fire Nick or anybody.
But it makes no sense, Barrett, only because, as you just elucidated, the fact is that the coordinator positions, other than Fangio, because he's a guy who's been here a while, the OCs go on to be head coaches. Why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that? So that leads me to believe it's either Nick Sirianni or it's Jalen Hurts, that these guys have determined Hurts is not the quarterback he was, doesn't run as much, doesn't hit his receivers in the middle of the field, doesn't make plays at crunch time anymore.
But he wins Super Bowls, he wins MVPs.
Last year.
But still, last year, you're right. What have you done for me lately? I understand that. But, when you hear is a certain expectation, and that expectation puts it, be bluntly, win or go home. You've got to win. But, yes, you're talking about 2 head coaches. These aren't just regular guys, that were OCs. These are 2 head coaches that you're asked to come in and be coordinators for the Philadelphia Eagles. They can pretty much pick what they want. You look at Mike McDaniels. He's still owed 3 years on that contract. He doesn't really have to coach if he doesn't want to. He can sit home and make, $10 million a year. So they can pick what they want. There's some starving, coaches, that are still coming up that they want to be OCs here. And, they'll eventually get their opportunity to come interview with them. But, as long as, like I said, number one's okay with them, I'm good with them.
All right, speaking of that, stance number 2, Matt Nagy, you're up. According to Adam Schefter, Nagy interviewed with the Eagles today. He spent the last 3 seasons as Chiefs offensive coordinator, finalist for the Titans head coaching job. Curiously, the Chiefs aren't bringing him back after his contract expired. So he's on the market for a job. Nagy had been the Bears head coach for 5 years, ending with the 21 season. He's a Lancaster County native, played quarterback at Delaware, also an assistant under Andy Reid here in Philadelphia. Barrett, how good of a hire would Matt Nagy be?
Well, just like Doug Peterson, you bring him in, he bring a little special sauce, man. Come in, and really, spruce things up a little bit. I can still remember some of the plays that they ran against us to beat us in their first Super Bowl. That orbit motion. He calls plays to, set up other plays. Oh, that's right, it was Bieniemy, who's now the Kansas City Chiefs head coach. But, just having that in his repertoire. They can run that orbit motion. They can run plays to set up other plays. I would enjoy Matt Nagy being here because he has he has what you want in an offensive coordinator. He can call plays to set up other plays, and I would love that. He can have bunch formation to the left and all of a sudden call, 19 power. Then turn around and use the same formation, bunch to the left, and run 22 double square out.
Does
plays
it worry
to
you,
set up other plays.
Does it worry you that Andy Reid's replacing him? Andy Reid is a loyal guy, and if you're doing your job, you can stick around for as long as you'd like.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. Not at all. He wanted to go and spread his wings somewhere else, and I think him and Andy were like, all right, I want to go. Stretch my arms out and go somewhere else, see if I can find a head coaching job. Well, he didn't get the head coaching job, so, he's out seeing if he can be an offensive coordinator somewhere.
Matt Nagy's defensive coordinator when he was Bears head coach, Vic Fangio.
Yes.
Okay.
It might be a match made in heaven.
Might be. Stance number 3, wait to see what Joe Brady does. The Bills offensive coordinator has interviewed for the now vacant head coaching job in Buffalo. If he fails to land a head job, how interested, Barrett, would you be in Joe Brady?
Of course, I'd be very interested. We're talking about the number 1 run offense in the NFL last year. I mean, they did anything they wanted to do, as far as running the rock. So, I would love for him to be there. In fact, he's one of my top candidates. You look at him. He got Josh Allen playing at a high level this year. James Cook was the leading rusher in the NFL. He runs a double tight end system with Knox and Kincaid. He'd be the perfect guy to come here and run this offense. But I think he's also interviewing for head coaching jobs. If they can slide him through the back doors, hire him, this will be perfect for us. I really think that he could really help, Jalen take his game to another level. So, yes, I would love that, and implement some of those running plays for the quarterback, not just the running back. So, yes, he would definitely be somebody, but I think we might have outkick our coverage with bringing him in. I think he wants a head coach job, and there's like 6 jobs still left out there.
In 2021, you'll recall, before hiring Nick Sirianni, the Eagles interviewed Joe Brady for the job. So there's some familiarity there.
That's right.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He didn't get it back then, the head coaching job, shot that he gets the OC job.
Well, Kellen Moore did the same thing. He interviewed at the same time. And then then Nick Sirianni got the job. But then he came back to become the offensive coordinator. So maybe he needs to come back to be offensive coordinator, and he'll probably leave us in another year also after a successful season here, hopefully.
There are players that we can't lose. Obviously, we're going to do what's best for us, and we're not going to do whatever it takes to do whatever it takes, but within reason, and that we want to keep around here because they're really good players, homegrown players that are really good people that are part of our core. And so with that, you're going to have to make sacrifices, and that's on me to make sure that the sacrifices we make are filled in with really good players again.
That's how Howie Roseman might handle the salary cap and navigate his roster. When you're successful, you lose key players, and the Eagles have over the past couple of years. That could be the case again this year, Barrett. Notable free agents for the Birds, beginning with the Big 4, Dallas Goedert, Jacoby Dean, Jalen Phillips, Reed Blankenship. Some other notable pieces, such as Fred Johnson, Jahan Dotson, punter Braden Mann, and Brandon Graham, who could retire again. Barrett, starting with Goddard and Jacoby Dean, what are the chances the Eagles bring either of them back?
I think both of them have played their way out of a contract that the Eagles can afford to pay them right now and sign other guys that they really need to pay going forward. They still got the contract they got to sign with Jalen Carter. I think Nolan Smith is up, this year, or he could be possibly, you get his 5th-year option. There's a lot of ways that this Eagles team need to negotiate through the defensive side of the ball to sign guys that they really need to be here, to play here, that are homegrown. Nakobe Dean's a homegrown guy. Dallas Goedert's a homegrown guy. But then you think about Dallas Goedert. He had 13 touchdowns this year. He had, 2 in the postseason. Then you look at Nakobe Dean. His ability to rush the passer and stop the run, he's going to get, go out in the market and really get a nice little payday. He came back and still played well from an injury. So, the likelihood of us signing them 2 back are kind of slim. But I think the guy that you could probably sign back just because he's been injured a lot would have to be Nakobe Dean.
All right, here's a look at who is most likely to be back with the Eagles and who they need to bring back. Barrett, you've got a top 3, and at number 3, you're starting with the punter.
Of course.
Man, oh, man.
Well, the punter, he should have been our MVP this year. He flipped the field so many times. Oh, he had 75 punts this year? He had a long of 70 with one punt.
But the punter, Barrett.
Yes, the punter.
You're a dime a dozen.
No, he's not a dime a dozen. This guy right here flipped the field so well. Ask the defense how good a punter can make their game. When they're backing teams up and they have to play a long field, and then all of a sudden the field has been flipped, now the offense get a short field because the defense balled out. That's what Brady Man is. He is that good, and I really think that we need to sign him back ASAP. He's going to cost a little money, but he's worth it bringing him back. He played better than anybody this season. Yes, I'm talking about a kicker, a punter, but he is that good.
How about this? Improve the offense. You don't need a punter.
No, out of that.
Save a roster spot. Number 2 for Barrett, Reed Blankenship. Here's a guy who was a team captain this past season. You want him to stay that way.
I want him to stay that way because everybody's talking about, how fast he is. Well, nobody really worried about how fast he was when he's out there balling the last 4 years. This guy is a leader on the field. He's the one to take care of that secondary, get them where they're supposed to be at. And I really think Makuba being back, I really allow him to go into his natural position. That's strong safety. That's him being in the box, being able to go down there and cover tight ends, cover running backs. Now he can come up and affect the run game a lot more faster. He's been having to play both free and strong this, the entirety of his career because we didn't have one guy to come in and just lock it down. Well, now we have somebody in Makuba who can lock down that free safety, now put him in the strong safety position. He can do very, very well there. So I would love to sign him back, and plus I think he'll give us a hometown discount. Everybody's talking about, we didn't sign. We usually sign guys early. Well, we didn't sign early, but still doesn't change the fact that we can bring him back, and I think he'll get a team-friendly deal, if he does come back.
And I'm with you, and he is a still young player.
Absolutely.
Hits like a ton of bricks, and when you're a team captain, that means you're a leader. That means you're good in the locker room. You would likely not want to let a guy like him escape.
They say he's not fast, but he's fast enough to go out there and make plays, and he played damn good this year, especially in that Bills game.
Topping the Barrett Brooks list of free agents to retain, number 1 on that list is Jalen Phillips.
Yes.
And there's a guy they got in trade this season, and he really came on like a ton of bricks. They acquired him from the Dolphins at the deadline. Do they keep him longer term?
I hope they do. I hope they try to keep him long term. Even though he had 3 sacks when he was with us, his impact plays is what you're looking at. No, he only had 15 tackles. But look how he affected the game when he was in there. He rushed the quarterback. He made sure he hurried him. He got a lot of QB hits. He was fast enough to go out there and play stand-up and getting passing lanes. He was definitely a guy that we say, hey, he has the perfect size, 6'5", 265 pounds, 270 pounds. And he showed that he can come in and be a major, major force in this defense, especially being here the entirety of the season. I think he'll have more than just 3 sacks. So have him on one side, he would be great at rushing that passer, going to the other side, and really, pushing things to Nolan Smith, pushing things to Hunt. He's that good of a player. So I would love to have him back.
Also, recall when the Eagles traded for him, how happy he was to be here, how much he liked Philadelphia. There's a guy by the name of Fangio that might want him back too, right?
Yeah, he's one of Fangio's guys. He said, hey, I want that guy. They got him to come back up. They traded for him. Why not just keep him here?